We're on page 56a. 56a, we've been talking about dreams. And let's go over the Gemara from yesterday and then continue. The Gemara yesterday talked about it talked about a number of dreams that Abaye and Rava had the same dream. But before that, there was the story of Caesar, the emperor, told Rabbi Yeshua ben Hananiah. He said, I understand, you people say about yourselves that you're smart people. Tell me what I'm going to dream about. So Rabbi Yeshua ben Hananiah told him, you're worried about the Persians are going to they're going to pressure you into working for the king. And in other words, this is the emperor of Rome, and he's telling him you're going to get you're going to dream that you're going to be pressured into becoming some type of a slave or some type of a worker for the Persians, and they're going to force you to be a shepherd for the pigs, and you will have a staff of gold. You will use a staff of gold as a shepherd of the pigs. Now, so a whole day he thought about that, and at night he actually dreamed that. And then the other story is the King Shapur spoke to Shmuel, and he told him. Now, King Shapur is from, Rashi tells us that's from the Persia, and Melech Paras, Rashi says. This is so he spoke to Shmuel, and he said, I understand you people say about yourselves that you're smart. What am I going to see in my dream tonight? So he says, you're going to see that the Romans are going to take you in captivity, and they're going to force you to grind in a mill. You're going to have to grind in a golden mill. You're going to have to grind kashyasa, the pits of dates, something that's you're going to have to grind the pits of the dates in a golden mill. Now, he thought about this all day, and he dreamed about it at night. So this emphasizes the fact that people dream about things that they think about by day, which really is applicable in halacha as well, that we know that it talks about a person who has it talks about it in the Chumash, it mentions about a person having a wet dream. And the Gemara explains that the reason why a person would have a wet dream at night is because he was thinking about impure thoughts by day. But it really applies to all dreams, that things that you think about by day, or it could apply to dreams, that would be something that one dreams about at night. And therefore, in regard to purity, a person should make sure during the day to only think about pure thoughts. In this way, he will not come to having a wet dream. So anyway, these are the two stories here that tell us about how the rabbis were able to figure out what these emperors or kings would dream about based on the fact of understanding them and imagining what they're worried about, what will they think about by day, and they were exact. They were right that they thought about these things by day, and the reason they thought about them by day probably meant that these are the issues that they deal with, and the rabbis were able to figure that out. They understood that's what's on their mind. And of course, after they mentioned it, they continued thinking about it by day, and that caused them to dream about it at night. Then we have the story of Bar Hedya. This is a story of someone who was a dream interpreter and how he interpreted numerous dreams. And we mentioned of how Abaye and Rava both had the same dreams many, many times. Both of them had the same dream, and they both went to get it interpreted by Bar Hedya. Bar Hedya, what he did was he would interpret the dreams, but he could interpret the same dream different ways. And depending on if you paid him or not, he would interpret the dream either for the better or for the worse. If you paid him, he gave you a good dream. He interpreted it good. And the way it works is a dream will come true according to how it is interpreted. And so if someone gave him money, he would interpret it good. If you didn't pay him, then he would interpret it bad. And this sort of touches upon the concept of a person should be very careful not to say certain things, because that could bring it into the physical world and make it happen. So you don't want to say anything negative, anything chas v'shalom, nothing bad should happen. So you don't open your mouth to mention something negative. And this is a similar idea, that the dream will actualize based on how it is interpreted. And so the Gemara gives all these examples of these dreams. So let's just try to go through them fast. The first dream, so Abaye always paid to have his dream interpreted. Rava, the first many dreams, maybe the first 10 dreams that he had Bar Hedya interpret, he didn't pay him anything. So of course Rava is going to be getting all these bad interpretations, and bad things are going to happen because of it, because the dream will end up coming true according to how it is interpreted. So let me just mute everyone here. So the Gemara mentions that they had a dream of a pasuk in this week's parsha. Sharcha tavoach leinecha, your ox will be slaughtered in front of you, but you won't eat. You will not be able to eat from it. So for Rava, he told him that your business is going to go bankrupt. It's going to be destroyed, and that means your ox will be slaughtered, and you won't be able to eat from it. Means you will not be able to eat anything because you will be so depressed. In the for Abaye, who paid him, he said it means your business is going to be booming. Your ox will be slaughtered, and you won't be able to eat. Means that you will be you'll have so much wealth, you'll be so joyous that your business is booming, that you won't be able to eat anything because of your great joy. You won't have an appetite. Now, then they said to him, well, we had another dream with another pasuk. And the pasuk was, Banim uvanis toiled, you will have children, and they will not be yours, for they will go in captivity. So to Rava, who didn't pay him, he said that it's negative meaning, and you will have children and they will be captured. To Abaye, he said, your sons and daughters you'll have a lot, and they will get married out to people around the world, and it will be like they are in captivity, meaning that they will not be near you, they won't live next to you. Then the next dream was another pasuk. Your sons and your daughters will be given to another nation. To Abaye, who paid him, he said, well, you will have a little argument with your wife of who the relatives in the olden days, they used to marry relatives like cousins. So you're going to argue with your wife, who should the children marry? Should they marry your cousins or my cousins? And your wife is going to win, and it'll be like they are going to another nation, meaning because they're going to be going to your wife, who's going to win the argument. They're going to end up marrying her relatives. And to Rava, who didn't pay him, he said it means that your sons and your daughters will be given to another nation. That means that your wife is going to pass away, and your sons and daughters will end up being they'll be ruled by your second wife, which would be like another nation. It would be considered, but in other words, that another they'll be disciplined, and they'll be brought up by your second wife, which will be to them like another nation. That's a verse that says that. Means a stepmother. And then the next pasuk says, the next dream they had was another pasuk. Go eat and drink go eat with joy your bread. That's the verse. And so to Abaye, he said, the reason you dreamed this was because your business is going to be very prosperous, and you will be reciting this verse. You will recite this verse of go eat, enjoy your bread. And to Rava, he said, your business is going to go bankrupt, and you will not. You will you will not have eat. You will not have an appetite to eat, and you will read this pasuk because it'll be some type of consolation for you. The hope that one day you'll be able to eat with joy. So then comes the next dream was they dreamed another pasuk. It says the earth will give forth seed in abundance, but you will harvest very little because it'll be eaten by the grasshoppers. And that pasuk, Abaye said it means that you will have abundance. The first part of the pasuk is the main part, and the second part is a typical dream that some of it doesn't come true. And to Rava, he said the second part is the main part. The first part is not going to come true. That the grasshoppers are going to eat all of your produce. Now the next dream, it was Zaysim Yiyulach. It was a pasuk. It says you will have olives in all of your boundaries, but you will not smear yourself with oil because the olives will drop from the trees. So this was customary in the olden days. They would smear themselves with the oil. It was a common, that was the common way of pleasure, some type of a massage, I guess. And so to Abaye, he said that the main thing is you're going to have all these olive trees throughout your boundaries, and the main thing is the first part. To Rava, he said the second part is what's the main part of the dream, and the first part is not gonna is insignificant. It's not actually. It's one of those false parts of the dream. Every dream could have something that's false. So it's you will not be able to smear yourself with oil because the olives will drop. Now, the next dream that they had was V'ro'u kalame haaretz, the famous pasuk. Oh, I see we have some questions here. Okay, I don't know who's first. Mordechai, you want to say something?
Yeah. In the story of Nachdim and Ben Gurion, doesn't it say that when he came in from the field, his wife brought a big bowl of oil for him to anoint himself?
Yeah, so what do you mean to bring from there?
I'm just saying that here it was talking about anointing with oil.
Okay.
I mean about a positive interpretation about
yeah, for sure. It's for sure a positive thing, anointing oneself with oil. And that's why for Abaye, for Rava who didn't pay, he said you're not going to be able to anoint yourself with oil. Right. Yes, Ben. Yeah, thank you.
I wanted to say, to ask, where are those pasuks coming from?
Oh, so each one, if you look on the side of your Gemara, they should quote each one.
I know, but where's the source of the pasuk?
So I'm telling you, like Sharcha Tavuach La'inecha is this week's parsha.
It's from the Torah. Okay,
it's from the Torah.
And why are they both having the same dream? Is it the same pasuk that they're studying together, or what?
So that's an interesting thought that it doesn't. We don't really know, but it could be. It could be they were discussing these psukim by day. We don't know. Doesn't tell us.
I see. Okay. I thought they were studying in a yeshiva or something. I don't know.
Well, they definitely used to debate a lot. So it would seem that they, it would seem that they must have discussed things together. So very possible. And they went together to the dream interpreter.
That's right. They went
go together.
So
it would make sense that they dreamed the psukim that they were expounding upon. Or like three of the psukim are
because it's a strange arrangement here, after 2-3 times that it doesn't work for you, why do you go there again?
Right. No, the interesting thing is 6 of the psukim are from this week's parsha.
Yeah.
So maybe it was Parshas Kisavai, and they were learning the parsha.
Yeah.
Maybe they were. It was that week's
Okay,
parsha.
I didn't know it came from the Torah. So yeah, maybe the parsha of the week or whatever. Yeah.
But anyway, but it's unclear. We don't really know how they ended up having the same
Because
dream.
we didn't need that many examples. I mean, after you get 1, 2, 3 examples, you know what they're talking about. It's going to be the same if you give 15.
Right. It is interesting that the Gemara spends pages talking about this. Yeah. As I mentioned yesterday, it would seem like Kabbalistically there must be some deep meanings behind this
Examples.
these examples and this story, but beyond my pay grade.
Okay.
Rabbi,
So yes.
I read that the dream outcomes took place over years, over months, and over years. So they didn't necessarily connect one to the other. It was so drawn out that
You saw such an insight.
What's that?
Did you see that yesterday on this Gemara?
Yeah, I saw this yesterday in the Steinsaltz Gemara.
But we didn't need that many samples,
Mm-hmm.
But if you schlep it out for a long time, you don't necessarily connect. I agree. Why would you keep on going back to the same guy and find a different dream interpreter? But if it happens over a long time, you don't necessarily connect one to the other.
They didn't connect, but you connected it in the Gemara. You don't need to put so many examples. That's what I'm saying.
That's because they're looking at it one after the other after it already happened. Hindsight is 20/20. So after the years have gone by and they saw all these dreams come true, then they see, oh, look at what's going on here.
But
anyway,
that goes
still, yeah.
Rabbi, but that goes against what we said yesterday. Yesterday, we made this statement, all these things happened, and it took time until finally we saw the results of what's happening. Now you're saying it's happening over a long time, which means that you should have seen already at least the results of 1 or 2 of them, happen. So either choose A or choose B, but you can't have both.
So it could be different interpretations. I'm not quoting what David brought. I'm not really sure the source of that. It must be one of the commentaries if Rabbi Steinsaltz brings it, but it's probably not the same commentary. I believe the commentary that mentions what I mentioned is the Ritva, but even the Ritva, he has 2 interpretations. So I mentioned one. I'm just saying, it could be different interpretations, So it's also, I don't know if your proof is 100% solid to have to say that it disproves the other interpretation either, because it could be that none of them came true even after many years. It could have taken 5 decades for everything to start coming true. So I don't know if the proof is such a solid proof, but in any event, it would seem to be different interpretations. But again, I'm sure there's deeper levels, layers to this. Yes, Ben?
It depends how quickly one lost the presidential, died when he had the yeshiva,
Right. So the Gemara continues and tells us this other pasuk, also this week's parsha, V'ro kol amei haaretz, that all the nations will see that the name of Hashem is proclaimed over you, and they will be afraid of you. V'yaru mimeka. So to Abaye, he said that you're going to become a Reish Masifta, you'll become the head of a yeshiva, and you will have fame. And people are going to be afraid of you. To Rava, he said that the king's dina, his storage house, his treasury is going to be broken into, and they're going to think that you are the Ganav. They're going to think you're the one who stole. and people are gonna be afraid from you, not from you, because they're not gonna be afraid of you. They're gonna be afraid because of you. That if they suspected you of being the Ganav, then we're all suspects, and who knows who's coming next. So people are going to be afraid because of what they saw happening to you. And the next day, sure enough, that came true. So what it sounds like from here is like this dream came true the next day, and they arrested Rava. But maybe the other dreams didn't come. So that might be a source why one of the commentaries might say these dreams took a long time, because only in this one does it say Lamachar, on the following day, this one came true. So I'm just throwing a thought. Maybe David, that's the source for that interpretation. Okay, then the Gemara continues and tells us another dream that he saw lettuce on the top of a jug, some type of a barrel, and so to Abaye, of course, who paid him, he said, means your business is going to become double, just like lettuce is folded over, so it's like double. And to Rava, he said, your business is going to be it'll be maror like lettuce, just like we use lettuce for maror. And the idea, the point is that lettuce becomes bitter if you leave it in the ground for longer amounts of time. That's why we use it for maror, even though lettuce tastes actually very, very good. But it is a vegetable that becomes maror, bitter, and to use it as a symbolic vegetable, it's acceptable because it does symbolize bitterness, even though we're eating it when it's not bitter. So then the next dream was that we saw meat on top of the wine, the barrel of wine. So to Abaye said, your wine is going to have a smell to it, a good smell. It's going to be very expensive wine. I don't know if the spiced wine and people are going to come to buy meat and wine from you. You're gonna have a lot of business. And to Rava, he said it means your wine is going to become bad, and people are going to buy meat to use for your wine, and because your wine is going to be cooking wine. It's going to be the cheapest garbage wine that all you need is the cheap wine to cook with. And then they said to him, we saw a barrel hanging from a dekel. A dekel is a palm tree. So Abaye said it means your merchandise is going to be tall, it's going to be great, it's going to be very big, and you're going to have a lot of you're going to have a business is going to be good. And to Rava, he said, Chali iska ketamri, it's going to be sweet like dates. Tamri or dates. And what that means is that people are going to want to buy your stuff because it's going to be so cheap, which means you're going to hardly make any money. You're going to have to sell everything cheap, cost price, just to get rid of it. Now, then they said to him that we saw a pomegranate growing from the top of a barrel. So to Abaye said it means your produce will be expensive your business merchandise will be expensive like a pomegranate. And to Rabbi, he said kavi would be bitter, tart, like pomegranate. Then they said to him, we saw a barrel fell into a pit. And to Abaye, he said it means people are going to try to get your merchandise, is going to have a big demand. And it gives a saying, there's a saying, bread fell into a pit and was not found. And to Rava, he said it means your business is going to go bad. All your items will be spoiled. They're going to throw them out. They're going to throw them into that means that's the idea that it'll fell into a pit, means into the garbage. Now, so they said to him, we saw a bar chamra, the young donkey, that was near our head, and it was braying. And so to Abaye said, means you're going to be a king, which means that he was going to be in charge of a yeshiva. And Rashi tells us, Reish Yeshiva, who gives drushes. And the Meturgaman stands on him to announce what he says. And that's similar to the donkey that brazed. And to Rava, who didn't pay him, he said that you're missing, that if you saw a young donkey, it means that your tefillin is missing words. He says, what do you mean missing words, right? I saw it myself. I checked my tefillin. He says, no, there's a vav that was missing. And the Gemara just seems to end it there. The vav was for sure missing from your tefillin. So Rashi explains that it must be that when it was written, it was missing, and they fixed it. In other words, they put a vav there, and they had to erase it, and they, and so that's the story of your tefillin, which is interesting. That this dream is a dream of something that had happened already. This is not telling him the future. This is something that he dreamed that was already, and he's just telling him this is why you dreamed that, because it had some your tefillin had this issue with it initially, which I guess is a very interesting idea of the fact that, in other words, we have to assume that Rava's tefillin is kosher, so they fixed it. And as Rashi explains, that they had to erase it, and if they erased it and they corrected it in a kosher way. So what benefit is it knowing this about the tefillin? In other words, who knows if there was ever a mistake happened in the tefillin? Does this mean that it's like a less, because there was a mistake in the tefillin, does it have any less value? I don't know. It's an interesting thing. This point here deserves to be looked into. Anyway, the Gemara continues and says that Rava stopped going together with Abaye. He went himself, and he said that I saw the outer Dasha Braisa, the outside door fell. So so he told him means his wife is going to die. So he said, I saw in the dream my back teeth and my front teeth fell out. So he said it means your sons and daughters are going to die. So he says, I saw the two doves that were flying. And he says it means two women you're going to divorce. He says, I saw two tops of turnips. So he says it means you're going to get hit with two blows from a stick that's similar to the top of a turnip, some thick stick. So Rava went that day and learned in the Beis Medrash, and I guess the understanding is that he was hoping that he won't have, if he goes to the Beis Medrash, he'll be safe. So he went in, studied all day, and while he was there were two blind people that were getting into an argument, and he wanted to separate them, and they hit him twice, and they picked up picked up to hit him another time, and he said, "What do you mean? I only saw it twice, and two is enough. But it's enough because two is what I saw in the dream." So it seems like they didn't know what he was talking about, probably, but they, for whatever reason, they just stopped. In the end, it says Rava decided to start paying for the dream interpretations, and he said to him, I saw the wall of my house fell. So he said it means you're going to have property without any limits. Going to buy property without any kunis. Kunis means to buy. He's going to buy property without any limits. He says, I saw the palace of Abaye that fell, and I got covered with dust. He says it means Abaye is going to die, and you're going to become the Rosh Hashiva. And I saw my palace fall. He says, and other people are going to take the bricks. So he says it means you're going to spread out your Torah all around. The whole world is gonna hear your teachings. So he says, I had a dream that my head split and my brain fell out. And he says that means that means the feathers are coming out of your pillow, and that it doesn't mean that much. Then he says, I saw they were saying in my dream, they were saying the Egyptian Hallel, which we said means the regular Hallel that we say on holidays. So it means you're going to have a miracle happen to you. And here is interesting. Bar Hedya really believed in his own interpretations. Like he knew that that's really, that it works. And Rava and Bar Hedya were actually on a boat. And Bar Hedya says, uh-oh, I just told Rava that he's going to have a miracle happen to him. It means that maybe the miracle's not going to happen for me. So I better get off of this boat because, this doesn't, I didn't have a dream that I would have a miracle. Rava had a dream that he's going to have a miracle. I don't want to hang out with people that need miracles. And so, so he quickly left the boat. While he was leaving, the book fell from him, his dream interpreting book. And Rava saw it, and he saw what was in it. And he read that it says over there, all dreams go after the interpretation. And this was obviously something new to Rava, meaning Rava didn't seem to know this about dreams. And so he tells the Bar Hedya, he says, wicked person, bididach kaima. It was dependent on you to interpret it, and that's why all these bad things happened, because you made everything bad for me. You could have done things good. You're wicked, and I forgive you for all of this except for the daughter of Rav Chizda, who you said is going to pass away. And there are other sources that he means except for the death things that you interpreted, all the deaths, not just his wife, but also any of the other deaths he wasn't forgiving him for. In other words, that Bar Hedya had the ability to make things happen good, and he chose to give him these bad interpretations. So he says, so Rava gave him a curse. He said, may it be Yehei Rava, may it be Hashem's will that you should be given over to the kingdom, and they will not have mercy on you. So Bar Hedya got all nervous because now he got cursed. First of all, his whole business is now down the drain because Rava might spread the word that he, that the dream interpretation is dependent on the person who and on how it's interpreted, and so he's nervous about that. He's also nervous about the curse. Mainly, he's nervous about the curse of Rava because Rava just gave him this major curse. So he said, what should I do? A curse, even if I don't deserve it. If a rabbi gives a curse, a great rabbi, a chacham, even for nothing, it'll come. It'll eventually come true. So he was very nervous. He said, for sure, Rava, it clears a curse. Which he did it bedina. He justly cursed me. In other words, I deserved it. And for sure, this is going to come true. So he says, let me go into exile. This was a common thing in the previous generations. People would want to do tshuva. They would want to repent for certain sins. So they would decide to take off and go into exile, and that would be a way of atonement. So this Bar Hedya thought he's going to go into exile. Maybe that will atone for him for his sin. And so didn't really work too well for him. So that's what we're up to. So he wanted to go into exile. So we are going to start here. We're on page 56a,
Rabbi,
Yeah.
I have the source of that note that I was mentioning before.
Yeah. What's the source?
Okay, so it's Rav Yaakov Emden,
Aha. Okay. Okay.
and it says Abaya and Rava saw a dream. Apparently, these stories did not all take place at the same time, rather over the course of many years. Similarly, their interpretations were not realized until much time elapsed. Apparently, Rava did not accept the Bar Hadia's dream interpretations, as he believed that the dreams have intrinsic meaning and that they may or may not be realized independent of their interpretation. At first, Rava did not notice that all of the interpretations were one-sided. He realized it only after much later when he saw them realized. Rava assumed that those dreams that were realized immediately, like the Vav of the Peter Chamor, were coincidences, or that Barhedya had seen his tefillin beforehand. That's Rabbi Yaakov Emden.
Uh-huh. Okay. Okay. Shkoyach. Thank you, David, for looking that up. Okay. So, we are going to go back into the Gemara now, and we are a few lines up from the bottom of the page. 5 lines from the bottom of the page. Come, the word come, 5 lines up from the bottom on page 56a. Come, Gali Levei Roimai. So this Barhedya got up, and he went to the Bei Roimai. Literally means to the house of the Romans, but it seems like he went to Rome. And Azal Yosef Apischa Deresh Terzina de Malka, he sat at the entrance of the head of the treasure, the watcher of the treasurer of the king, the person in charge of the treasury, the chief treasurer, whatever, the person in charge. And he Amar Lay, so that chief master watchman of the treasury.
Secretary of the treasury.
Secretary, okay. Well, the term is a shomer, so I guess that's probably right. But we might want to we'll call him the watchman, because we're going to see he's going to get stuck that he didn't do a good watching. We'll call him the watchman of the treasury. But the watchman of the treasury, he told Barhedya, he said that I chazoi chelma reish terzina. 1 second. So Yosef Apischa de Reish Terzina. So he sat over there at the entrance of the Reish Terzina de Malka, the watchman of the treasury. Reish Terzina chazah chelma. This watchman saw a dream. Amar lei. So he said to Barhedya, chazoi chelma da'ayel machta. Basi. He said, I saw a dream that a needle went into my finger. So Amar Lei, so Barhedya said, Havli Zuzah, give me money, give me a zuz. I'll interpret your dream. He didn't give him anything. So Barhedya did not tell him anything. Then he said, Amar Lei, he says, Tichla Basi. I saw a dream that there was a tichla, which Rashi says means a toila, a worm, went into, it fell on 2 of my fingers. A worm fell on 2 of my fingers. Amalei havli zuzah. So Barhedya said, no problem, I'm going to interpret your dream for you. Give me some money, give me a zuz. So, Amar Lei, and then this watchman of the treasury said, I see a worm fell on my whole hand. Amar Lei nafal tichla b'kuli. Amar Lei, so Barhedya answered him, he says, nafal tichla b'kulhi shirai, worms have fallen on all of the silk of the clothing of the king, and of all of the silks, that all of the material of the king, the worm has fallen on, which means that it's basically eating away at. And Shami Be Malka, and the kingdom, the house of the king, heard. In other words, the dignitaries, the ministers, they heard about this. Shami Be Malka, V'asyuha l'reish terzina, and they brought this watchman of the treasury, Kakadlile, and they wanted to kill him. Amar lahu ana amai, why are you killing me? I see lahai dahavayadav amar. There's a guy who knew about what was going on, and he didn't say anything because he told me about this only after the fact, and he could have told me before, but he wanted a little few dollars. What a fool. He caused the king such a loss. What a rebellious, not a fool, a rebellious person to the king. This is serious stuff that's happening. The king is losing so much of his expensive silk. I suha lebarhedya. They brought Barhedya Amar Amri Lay Amtu Zuza Didach. They said that your zuz, because of your zuz, Amtu Zuza Didach, Shirai de Malka, Charvu Shirai de Malka, we turn the page here. Because of your zuz, you caused the silk to be destroyed. How could you have dared to do such a thing? And then it says the terrible thing they did to this guy. They kfisu train arzi b'chavlo. They put two cedar trees together with a chevel, a big rope, and also chad kari l'chad arza. And they tied one leg to one cedar tree, and v'chad kari l'chad arza, another leg to another tree, the cedar tree. V'shar l'chavlad it's stalik reshe. And they untied the rope, and then it caused the two trees to separate until his whole body split in half. That's what it seems like. Also, kol chad v'chad kamaduchte, each of the cedar trees went back to its place, v'itzdalik v'nafal betrain, and his body split in half. Okay, so that's the story of how this Barhedya, the punishment that came about to him through the curse of Rava. No, it seems like is the cedar trees they had bent them out of place, and then when they untied the rope, they separated. Now, Sha'al ben Dama ben Achoisai shall Rabbi Yishmael is Rabbi Yishmael. So Ben Dama, who was the son of the sister of Rabbi Yishmael, so he's the nephew. He asked Rabbi Yishmael, Ra'isi shnei l'chayai shenashru. I saw my two jaws have slipped, have fallen down. In a dream, he saw this. So Amar, he said, Shnei gedude roimi yatsu alecha ra. There are two groups of soldiers of Rome that are planning something bad against you. Umesu, when they died. So that was the meaning of this dream. Your two jaws have slipped down or fallen down. means that they died. Those that wanted to those that wanted to speak bad about you. The Gemara continues. Amar le Bar Kapara le Rebbe. So Bar Kapara told Rebbe, Ra'isi choit mi shanasha. I saw my nose fell off, slipped off, fell off. Amar le, he said, Charoin af nistalik mimcha. Nose symbolizes anger, so it means that Hashem's anger or someone's anger has been lifted from you. So Rashi brings down a famous thing that whenever we talk about anger, the nose, it generally means charoin af. The anger is connected to the nose. Somehow you see like some picture, like in a comic strip, you see the smoke coming out of one's nose. There's so somehow the nose is symbolizes anger. So the anger is gone away from you. That anger has been removed from you. That someone who's angry at you is basically not angry. Okay. Amar le Bar Kapar le Rebbe Risi. I'm sorry. Amle Raisi Shnei Yodai Shenechtekua. So Bar Kapara, told Rebbe, he said, I saw my two hands are cut off. Amar le Leitzdarech Lemaisi Yodecha. You're not going to need to work anymore because you're going to get rich somehow. I don't know, win the lotto, you're going to get an inheritance. You're not going to have to work anymore. So Amarle says, I saw in a dream, Risi Shtei Ragli Shenittu. I saw my two legs were cut off. So Amarle, he said to him, Al sus atarecha. The dream means that you're going to be riding on a horse and you will not need to be walking everywhere. You will now have a car. You're going to now have a horse to ride on, basically from your wealth. I saw that they were telling me in the dream, Ba'adar Nisas, I'm going to die in Adar. B'Nisan le'chazis, I'm not going to see the month of Nisan. Adar is like the month of March, and Nisan is like April. So he says, I saw that in Adar I'm going to die, and in Nisan I'm not going to see the month of Nisan. So Amar Le, so Rebbe answered Bar Kapara, and he said, what this dream means is Ba'adrusa misas. Ba'adrusa misas. You will die with adrusa. Adrusa means like dignity. And V'lai asis lidei nisayon, and you will not come to any being tested by Hashem. Rashi says that b'chavod uvahadar tamas. You're going to die with honor and with hadar, glory. You will die. So, in other words, even though the dream sounds like he's going to die in the month of Adar, it sounded like he's going to die soon in the month of Adar. It means no. He interpreted it that it means adrusa, means with glory and honor and praise, and he'll die with greatness, and it won't be through some type of a nisayon, a test. Amar leho tzeduki le Rabbi Yishmael. So a tzeduki, which is someone who doesn't believe in the rabbis, and the tzedukim, he told one of these tzedukim told Rabbi Yishmael, Ra'isi shani mashke shemen lezesim. I saw in a dream that I was pouring oil into olives, which is like the opposite of olives supposed to pour oil. He's supposed to pour oil out of olives, and he saw himself pouring oil into olives. So Rabbi Yishmael Amar Le, Rabbi Yishmael told him, Ba al ima, you must have had relations with your mother. And what does that mean? Because oil is supposed to come out of the oil. Here you were pouring oil. Oil is supposed to come out of an olive. And you saw in a dream that you were pouring oil into the olive. The olive is like the mother, and you were pouring oil into the olive. It means you must have been feeling guilt that you had relations with your mother, and that's why it shows you saw in a dream that you're pouring oil into the olive, meaning you had relations with your mother. Amar lei, so he told him, Chazoi de kotif li kuichva. He said he saw in a dream that I cut off, kotif li kuichva, a star. Amar lei bar Yisrael ganavta, you stole a Jew. Jews are compared to stars, Rashi tells us. So that means that you must have kidnapped someone. Now, Amar lei, so he said
Rabbi,
to him, yeah.
This is interesting about the olive and the oil, because I was taught that when you're eating olives, you should pour some olive oil, into the olives before you eat the olives.
Right. Well, that has something to do with something called kasha l'shikcha, that olives could have an effect on memory, and olive oil has a good effect on the memory. And therefore, if you add olive oil with olives, hopefully the memory that you lose from the olives will not be affected by the it won't be affected because you're having oil. So olive oil brings back good memory. But here, this at least Rabbi Yishmael understood that this Tzeduki needs to be rebuked, and the reason he's having this dream is probably from his either guilt or something that it's on his mind, or something that he did, and there's a reason why they're showing it to him. And Rabbi Yishmael took advantage of telling him what he sees in his dream, and so he's, interestingly enough, the guy keeps on telling him more dreams, even after he, I guess because he knows the truth. He knows what Rabbi Shmuel, what he says is true. So Rabbi Shmuel is revealing his sins to him that he's dreaming about. But anyway, that would be, you'll have to, if you want to start interpreting dreams, David, you got to put advertisements out, and you could tell people, they're dreaming the olives because of that, the halacha. But here the Gemara is telling us the story of Rabbi Shmuel and a Tzeduki. But I'm sure there are other ways of interpreting it. He interpreted it this way, You're asking, why didn't he interpret it the other way, that it could be the halacha, right? That you should add oil. It's not exactly a halacha. I should preface that even though there is a tradition there is such a thought that if you add olive oil, not everyone necessarily agrees with that. In other words, olives cause a person's memory have a negative effect on memory. The Gemara also says that olive oil is a positive effect on memory. So does it work? If you do you lose? Do you gain whatever you lost, or it doesn't work? In other words, it's not necessarily so clear that olive oil helps. It also could mean when you eat olives often that it'll have an effect on your memory. But if you just have a few olives, maybe not necessarily is it considered a problem. But in any event, that's not how he interpreted it.
Maybe it only works if you believe that that's the way it's going to work.
Well, there are certain,
like
it's interesting.
Dream,
There are certain superstitions that we sort of accept from, we do accept from the Gemara, but it's not 100% so clear that it works. It's based on a Gemara in Hiriyos. If you want to look it up, David, there's the Gemara about it in Hiriyos, about the olives. It's at the end of the tractate. Okay, so anyway,
which tractate is that?
Hiriyos.
Okay.
It mentions a few things that are kasha l'shikcha. They cause a person to forget.
My wife was taught from when we got married. She said whenever we would open up a can of olives, she would pour a little bit of olive oil into the can.
How good is your wife's memory now?
It's been going on the whole time since we got married.
Does she remember everything you did wrong?
No, but she remembers that.
No, I'm talking about other things.
Oh.
So that's
she
what
remembers. She remembers stuff that's in the kitchen because the wife is in charge of the kitchen.
okay. That's fine. Listen, as long as she doesn't remember all the mistakes, you know. Okay. So anyway, the Gemara continues and says that this Tzeduki, he saw that he the first one was he saw the olive thing. Then it says he saw himself taking or plucking a star from the sky. He stole that, which means he kidnapped someone, kidnapped a Jew, because a star, Yidden are compared to the stars. Then it says he saw Chazoi Omar Le. He said to him, Chazoi de Belati Lekoichava. I saw that I swallowed a star. Omar Le, so Shmuel told him, Bar Yisrael Zavante. It shows that you sold a Jew, va'achlas with May, and you ate the money that you got when you sold him. The Amar Le Chazoi Einai Dinashkon Adadi. I saw that my eyes were kissing each other. Amar Le, he said to him, Ba al Achvaiso. You had relations with your sister. His eyes were kissing each other, and he said it means that you had relations with your sister. Amar Le, he said to him, Chazoi denashki sihara. I saw that I kissed the moon. Amar Le, he said to him, Bo Aleshes Yisrael, you must have had relations with the wife of a Jewish person. And that the Jewish people are compared to the moon, and if you had the dream that you kissed the moon, it means you kissed a Yid. Actually, the moon symbolizes the recipient, which would mean a female. And kissing the moon would mean you kissed a Jewish, you had relations with a Jewish woman.
Right. It says in our scroll that you evidently cohabitated.
No, you had relations, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I said kiss? I meant had relations. I should have. Yeah. Ba Aleshes Yisrael. When it interprets it, it does say Ba Aleshes Yisrael. Yeah. Thank you for correcting. Amar Le Chazoi de Darichna Betuna di Asa. I saw in a dream that I stepped. Darichna means he stepped, he walked. Betuna di Asa, in the tuna, in the shadow of a hadassim, of myrtle. So what does that mean? I stepped in the shadow of myrtle. Amar Le, so Rabbi Yishmael told him, we saw this in a dream. He said, what did Rabbi Yishmael told him? What it means is, Ba al Naira Hamurasa, you had relations with a Naira, a 12-year-old that is engaged and partially married. And that's what it means, that you saw, that you stepped on this shadow of a hadassim, of a myrtle, because Rashi tells us here that they used to use for the chuppah, they would make a chuppah of hadas, of myrtle. When they would enter the chuppah, they would call it a hinuma, he says. And so that would be a sign that she was a partially married woman, because in Jewish law there's two parts to the marriage, and the first part is called the kedushin, the Erusin, another word for Kedushin and Erusin, and then the second part is called Nisuin. So you had relations with a woman that was an Erus, with a woman that was a Mu'urasa, a Naira Mu'urasa, a partially married girl. And that's the meaning of that dream. Okay, we'll have to continue tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem.
Thank you, Rebbe.
Thank you. Bye-bye,
Thank you,
everyone.
Rebbe.
Thank you.